Hey, MC here, making a little video for Michael Dunn, a dedicated viewer that's in and out of a lot of other channels. He had a couple of questions about one of these things, how to go about turning it into one of those things, or one of those things, or possibly even one of these things. What are the steps and the procedures, or how to go about doing that? Well, it's really not that difficult, because this thing can be bought just the same as, this thing. So you go to your local dealer and you fill out your 4473 form. They will do a quick check, and away you go. The same as this thing. This thing is considered a firearm. Clearly it's not a firearm, but in the infinite wisdom of whoever it is that is in control of the rest of us peasants, this thing is legally a firearm. We don't know what caliber. We don't have a barrel length. We don't have a length of pull. We don't have a trigger pull. We don't have a safety. We don't have a, well, we can stuff magazines in it, but they won't do any good because they'll go right on through the assembly because there's no magazine catch. There's no receiver. There's no stock. It's a block of aluminum, and in this case by the Sharps brothers. This one was crafted into a really cool looking, product compared to a standard product. They do the same thing. You just have to add a few more parts. Well, not this part. This is a part you put on your door to keep the door from coming open when the dog pushes on it. But these parts help hold the rest of those parts together, but not that difficult. So if you can legally own one of these, or a pistol like that, you don't need to pay the $200 extortion fee like I did with this item for the suppressor. That's an NFA item. Or the $200 extortion fee for this item, which is another suppressor. You just buy this item here, pass your background check, take it home with you. So if you can legally possess a pistol or a rifle, muzzle loaders don't count. Not sure why. Probably because, I don't know. Anyway, muzzle loaders, depending on the state you're in, you can still buy those. Well, you can't get those at your local hardware anymore because society's changed into other standards. But if you can own a shotgun, you can own an AR-15. Because we are the people. So you can either buy these direct from your local gun shop, or you can find yourself a business that is internet based. Buy one of these. You can either get a stripped lower, which is what this is, stripped down, no parts, no pieces. This one was a stripped lower as well that was assembled. So then you can decide, and your best bet is to talk with your local gun dealer. What I've been doing is registering these items with the serial number that's on it as a pistol. And then you build it out with your short barrel, no stock, and it is a pistol if the barrel length is under 16 inches. But again, the confusing thing is this is the gun, this item right here. there's clearly no barrel. So there's some, complete dumbness written into the system, where a collection of parts is just that. You collect them, you install them, and depending on how you assemble them, it's either a felony or it's perfectly legal at the whim of somebody else. But enough ranting. So anyway, Michael, if you're looking to get an AR, this is the cheapest, easiest way to do it. A strip lower, typically you can get these for under $100. That is your start. What's in the box? Let's do an unboxing. This one happens to come from Bear Creek. I bought this one. And it is mailed direct to the house because, again, it's just parts. So let's open this one up. We'll show you what's inside. In fact, I'm going to grab the camera stand because hanging onto a phone, walking around with sharp utensils isn't going to end well for my fingers. So let's throw this in a little holder. Grab a sip of coffee. Texas Parks Outlet Coffee, very good. Go check them out. Texas Parks, you can find them, or you can find Eagle Run 2-3. So let's cut the rest of these tabs. And here we find pretty decent packaging. The delivery service hasn't smashed or bashed anything. I got a little foam, keep everything intact. They even give you a sticker. So if you're into collecting stickers, you've got another one. And so out of the box, get this box out of the way. Got the extra foam. This one has a blowback design, so there's no buffer tube needed. See some fancy engraving that I don't have on my other pistol upper. But otherwise, it's about what we expected. Don't necessarily need the buffer tube. If you wanted to set this one up as a pistol, let me hit pause here a sec. So if you wanted to set it up with as a pistol, you order the shorter than 16-inch barreled upper receiver. But if this item is already registered as a rifle, and you install your shorter than 16-inch barrel on it, now you've just made a short barreled rifle. My understanding is if you register this as a pistol, you build it as a pistol, then later you want to build it as a rifle, it's a rifle. And then if you want to build it as a pistol at a later date, the serial number is already registered as a pistol, you're back as a pistol. But if you start out as a rifle and then make it the pistol, you're first supposed to submit a request for a short-barreled rifle before assembling them. And again, the stupid thing is, this is your gun without anything else. Logic need not apply. So we'll set the pistol upper off to the side for the moment. We'll grab the new rifle upper. And again, the only difference is 16-inch barrel. Takedown pins. This one, since I've removed the rear buffer tube, this one technically doesn't need the buffer tube because everything is all intact in the upper. The whole bolt carrier group is just one assembly. There's no rear charge handle on this particular setup. This is a side charger. So the bolt carrier group runs in here. We'll pull you off camera a second because there is this going on. And just like that, through the magic of YouTube censorship, the whole bolt carrier group is now removed. This one is the side charger, so this is the charge handle. This one installs here with the screw that holds it in place. If you didn't have the screw and the charge handle, you could not charge the weapon. We have the extractor. Firing pin is inside. The hammer comes in contact with this section of the firing pin. And then this is the weight and also a captive spring. So when your 22 cartridge fires, the recoil will push this to the rear. Your extractor will extract the spent round from the barrel. This one has an ejector built into the barrel cut. So when the rim of the cartridge hits that ejector, it will kick the spent cartridge out through the ejection port. Again, pretty simple setup. Just barrel, small little feed ramp. Not sure if that comes through on the camera or not. Grab a flashlight. Yeah, you might be able to see that a little bit better. So there's feed ramp. Your ejector is this little rod inside of here. And again, to assemble these, you have the front takedown pin, the rear takedown pin, which is held captive by a spring and a little detent. That is held in place by your end cap. And then your buffer tube would spin into that. This one is a folder, a side folder. So since we don't need the buffer tube to hold the spring, like you would with a standard AR-15, this one we can put a side folding stock on. Fold that out of the way. So we'll throw a couple of parts and pieces together. One other note too, so this one is a brand new barrel, just came from the factory, totally unloaded. We've got the bolt carrier group removed. One thing I like to do, just as standard practice, is I will get a bore polish paste. This one's a cleaning compound, and I will thoroughly scrub the barrel. If there's any oil, you can see there's some foam and some other weird stuff still stuck up inside of this from manufacturing or shipping. Function-wise, that white residue garbage isn't going to have any effect on the operation, but it's always good practice to inspect all of the parts and make sure that you don't have any burrs inside of any of the parts that might be left over from any machining that got missed by quality control. Yeah, I will scrub this barrel get everything all cleaned up. This particular one does have a little flash hider on the end. We're going to get rid of that flash hider because this is a 22 long rifle. I have a 22 suppressor, and we're going to set the suppressor up on this so that I can shoot it suppressed and unsuppressed. Do some videos of that for you guys. Also coming up in August, I am setting up a suppressor meet and greet, so people in the area that aren't familiar with how suppressors work or the laws can talk with experts and find out what steps they need to go through in order to legally own and use a suppressor. Magazine difference. So this is your standard 5.56 or 2.23 magazine. Magazine catch holds things in place. It is just this little piece here, and then it'll feed your cartridges as the bolt carrier group slides back and forth. But since this is a specific 22 long rifle, you need specific magazines for it. This one is drilled and pinned so that it's a fixed 10 round magazine capacity. So even though it's physically large, like the other standard capacity magazines you'd use for your normal AR-15, this one is a fixed 10 round magazine. Some states require a maximum of only 10 rounds. So using the correct magazine for the chamber, for the firearm you're using, will make life a lot simpler for you and get a lot more consistency and efficient running with your tools. So since YouTube's got some policies about not showing you the assembly of how all the parts and pieces go together specifically, I'm going to do a little bit of bore cleaning on this. Get this bore polished up, grab a couple of wrenches, get this muzzle device taken off, this other pistol barrel. This one is just a flash can, so this is like a linear compensator. There are no parts inside of this item, and you can even drop it on the floor without breaking anything. And the inside of this thing, oops, is just hollow. But consideration for some of these short barreled pistol platforms is you can see the handguard comes all the way up to right at the muzzle. So if you've got the habit of gripping the gun as far forward as you can, or because of the differences in muzzle length, if you have a natural inclination to grab the fore end of the gun, of the forestock, you run the potential of shooting one of your digits off. So adding extension is another way to potentially protect yourself from accidentally shooting a finger. And so we got a little bit of lead fouling on the end of this muzzle from repeated use. And again, this one is a blowback design where the buffer tube is not needed because everything is all captive in the upper receiver. So until the NFA and the ATF can get their crap together, when I do public shooting events or hunter education classes or introducing new people to the sport of shooting, and especially the suppressors, I picked up this 16-inch barrel upper so I can continue to teach and educate people using a platform that is you know, more compliant with the current whims of the people that write the whims. So, quick pause, and we'll do a little bore scrub, and we'll jump back in and show you some of that process. So, when I have a new barrel, there's a lot of various ways that you can clean your firearms. This one was a gift or a winnings from the Ron Wayne channel. So a setup like this has got your cleaning oils and solvents, different bore brushes and mops, cleaning rods, cleaning patches. There's other brands with other kits that do similar things. Again, brass, so you don't scratch the inside of your barrel. Brass or nylon brushes, cotton brushes. There are also kits on the market, like this one from Otis, that come in a small travel pack. These are cable kits. So of course this one's been pretty used. This was one that the State Hunter Education Department gave out to the instructors. It has some brass brushes, place for some patches, for some cleaning solvents in a small carry case. So these are another option. Or you can go a even more low-tech, more affordable way, using some fishing twine, fishing wire, fishing line. It's soft, you're not going to scratch the barrel. You can stretch this out. I usually will tie a loop in the center of it and make the cord long enough that I've got enough to hang on to at the receiver end. Get the loop past the muzzle, and then likewise be able to pull the loop into the receiver with enough to hang on to at the end of the muzzle. We'll take some patches and take my loop, stick a few patches together, put them in the loop, and then run this back. Oops, actually I did that wrong. Let me loop it this way. Then we'll tie the patches in. We'll draw this tight. I'm heading onto the wadding with the loop. This is probably too thick for a 22 rimfire. It's just a .223 or .224 diameter. So we'll take a couple out. We'll close that in. We will stuff one end of it into the barrel. Normally, if you're brushing, you want to brush in the direction of your bullet travel. Push all the debris out the end of the muzzle and not backwards into your action. This one is brand new, so the majority of what's going to be in this, we would hope, would just be anything left over from the manufacturing and assembly process. I don't expect to see any metal chips or shavings or anything of that nature. And so now the string has come out this side. We can fish that out of the action. We'll drag this in. And you can hear that's a pretty tight fit. And you can actually seesaw back and forth with the patch now. And that will scrub the inside of the barrel. And so here is our brand new barrel with some debris that was in it left over from the factory. It could have either been test fired or could just be leftover manufacturing stuff. So again, I always get into the habit of cleaning a new barrel. Even though it's brand new, there's still going to be shipping oils, stuff that maybe made it through manufacturing that didn't get cleaned out, and it only takes a few minutes. It's good practice and procedure, and with this method, it's pretty affordable. I mean, I'm a fairly cheap person, so I like nice things, but I don't like paying for things that I'm going to throw away as consumables. So if I can find a alternative that is a lower cost, that is just as effective, that's what I'm going to try. Additionally, this bore paste, this is just a light polishing compound. Kind of is about the consistency maybe of peanut butter. So this I'm going to just work into the patch so that I've got a coat all the way around on it. And then again, the initial strokes would have taken any residue, any of the big stuff off. Now this polishing compound will help remove any other junk that's in there. And I will usually draw this back and forth, 50. There goes that muzzle device again. So, you know, you don't really want to throw $500 or $1,000 suppressors on the floor, but a $20 aluminum linear compensator, not that big of a deal. So again, I'll stroke a new barrel back and forth with a polishing compound. And then after I've got this polished back and forth, then I'll go through with a cleaning solvent and a dry patch and then a light oil, making sure that I've got all of the passages clean and clear, paying particular attention to the muzzle. Again, this one is a blowback design, so there's no gas port or gas block. But if you had a traditional AR style, let me grab a barrel a second. If you had a traditional AR style barrel, you have a hole in your barrel. That is where the gases, after ignition, get redirected back through your gas block to work your bolt. So if you're running a bore paste and you're scrubbing the inside of your barrel, you can guarantee you will plug that gas port solid with junk. If you fill that solid with junk, it's going to come up into the small port that's in your gas block. So when you plug that, you will also plug up this gas tube. And if you plug the gas tube, guess what? You're not going to cycle your action. So you're going to be disappointed with your firearm, even though you may have inadvertently just put parking brakes on by putting junk inside of your gas system. So again, blowback design does not have a gas block or the gas port in the barrel. This one actually is a 8.6 blackout barrel that was another project that still needs to be completed. But yeah, one of these days. I've got plenty of items to finish off. That's the fun of assembling and building your own parts and piece kits, is you can mix and match different items for a different function. And it also helps keep your mind sharp, because when you've got a tray full of parts and pieces, or an entire bench full of parts and pieces that can be assembled in any number of ways, it keeps you thinking and keeps your mind sharp and active. So again, I'll usually stroke back and forth with my improvised fishing line and bore paste and cleaning patch, just to polish up the inside of the barrel. Once things are moving really smooth and you know, we've stroked maybe 30, 40, 50 times back and forth, I'm pretty confident that I've got all the rest of the manufacturing junk out of the barrel. Then we'll go through a thorough cleaning procedure. This extra insulation, or the styrofoam junk that was on the inside of the receiver, you can just use a small bore cloth cleaning rod and wipe that junk out of there. And again, you can see there's more fuzz and lint and other things. Some of that's coming from the brush itself, so you'll identify any little sharp edges or burrs Like this one I can see now has a small sharp little tab that extends beyond the scope rail. So again, Bear Creek, I have several, a lot of, I'm going to be like Eagle Run and not say a number, but the majority of what I've got is Bear Creek, which is on the lower end of the spectrum of cost. But you also end up with items like this that aren't really going to affect your function, but it is something that you will end up doing yourself in the field. It keeps manufacturing costs down. I am fully acceptant of little items like that. It is not a deal breaker for me. If the rest of the firearm functions close enough where with my skills I can tune it and get more proficient and more efficient with it, I'm going to do that. Again, I've got an uncle had this one built. This one is a 6.5 Grendel. That shoots really well. He's got some high-end parts and pieces on this that do make a difference, but you have to determine for yourself whether they make a difference enough to spend the money on the small upgrades. Christian Grest is doing some upgrades right now, and there's 5 main things, and he's covered trigger and he's covered grips. And if you tune in to the Christian Grest YouTube channel, you will find probably he's going to hit a few more items as he goes through. I would start with my 5 would be a trigger, would be grips, would be optics. Those would be in the top 3 of things to put on your firearm to make it better or make it more custom fit to you. Next, I guess the stock kind of falls into grips as well, since it comes in with your, with your hold points. Next would be muzzle device. Sometimes you want a muzzle brake to cut down on recoil. Sometimes you don't, if it's going to be shot under a covered pavilion or you're in an area where sound is going to make a big difference. But ultimately, these are one of those things that you need to get the gun out and do some shooting. On this 308, this one's a Savage bolt action. That one, did a little bit of shooting with it without the muzzle brake on it. And there was a bunch of jumping around on the bench that I didn't like. So I installed a brake on this one to keep the barrel pointed where I wanted it to point. This other 308, that one had just a thread protector on the end. So this one we can take the suppressor off, maybe. And again, that's another one of those YouTubes. Don't want you to see the installation or removal of said device. This one has a muzzle brake with a quick adapt feature, so that this suppressor can be put on this one. It could be put on that one with an adapter. It could be put on the 6.5 Grendel with an adapter. It could be put on this 308 with an adapter. This other 6.5 Grendel would work. This one, no, that's a 303 British, larger bore diameter, and it would just look stupid. Yeah, it would look stupid. Actually, with an adapter, that would work on a 22. I've done that on this other 22, is run the 30 cal can. However, you don't want to run too many rounds through it because you end up with a crap ton of lead and carbon in passages that make it a nightmare to clean out. That's why you should run a dedicated rimfire suppressor, because those you can disassemble and clean. So again, thanks for the question, Michael Dunn. And if you do have other questions on how to get into AR ownership, this kind of should cover most of it. But essentially, all you really need to start is a frame. And again, $70. You can can get these things direct shipped to your FFL dealer. Again, this is the gun, so you need to fill out the 4473 form in order to register that. And personally, I've set them up as pistols. There are other alternatives to that. That would be one of these. This one is not a gun. This is just a block of aluminum. So you have to finish this one off yourself. Then at that point, it is whatever it is. But again, check with your local dealers. I would trust their advice more than just some idiot on YouTube that has a camera and a workbench, since they're in the business and they deal direct with the ATF and kind of are a little better at gauging what the whims are going to be and what they currently are. Remember, free Matt Hoover. Matt Hoover got caught up in some tyranny, so he needs our thoughts and prayers. He also needs our support. And with this, I'm going to end this lengthy unboxing video, finish my cleaning of the barrel, and then next video is probably going to be I'll pull the scope off the rimfire pistol, throw that on the rimfire rifle, and then dump the receiver back on, put the rest of the takedown bolt or takedown pin, my spring, and my indent or detent, and actually I think I've got a couple of parts in here. Oh yeah, there's the other one. So like I said, it's not too hard to get a collection of parts and pieces. And then depending on, you know, which parts and which piece and which order you want to use, it's like a great big jumbo Mr. Potato Head. So you have a lot of different options. Parts and pieces can change around to fit the need. Or you can just build a dedicated platform or buy a dedicated platform every time you want to change. So that's kind of the beauty of the AR-15 platform, is once you own the gun, this block here, it can be a 22 rimfire. It can be a 6.5 Grendel. It can be a 223. It could be a 300 Blackout. It could be any of the cartridges that will fit inside of the magazine, that fits inside the magazine well. AR-10, you have to jump up to a frame size larger. This is your AR-15 magazine, and you can see the difference between the mag wells. So if you want to go 243, if you want to go 308 Winchester, if you want to go 6.5 Creedmoor, you're going to need the larger receiver set. And so for a comparison, we'll set this one